People who choose to be kind every day despite of not receiving the same kindness back. What motivates you? Because I could be the other person. I adore this story. Sort of in the same energy, wherever people make a big deal out of help, I always say, well, I trust you'll do the same for me. I had someone reply with, no, I wouldn't. I'm a dick, and just said, well, maybe this was meant to let you reevaluate that. I kinda wonder if they did. We didn't know each other very well. I once bought a gift card and a jug of water and some fruit for a person panhandling outside of a grocery store. It really wasn't a huge deal, but the dude who was parked right next to the guy and ignoring him the whole time said, that was really nice of you. I just responded that the guy was a part of our community and everyone needs compassion. Life is hard. I remember when I was a child and my mom and brother and I only ate dinner because of a kind stranger who showed us that same compassion. I only hope I helped the man eat a yummy dinner and gave him the same feeling of value that stranger gave me so many years ago. Yup, do it for yourself. When you live consistent to your values and principles, it builds your self-confidence, esteem, and just generally you walk lighter. That's more than enough reason. If the only reason you're kind to people is to get something back, you will always only ever be disappointed. Do it for yourself. I was trying to rack my brain for a good answer until I saw this comment and I couldn't agree more. I was raised to be kind and I continue it on my own accord because I want to, not because I'm going to get something in return. It's my nightmare have intentionally, or unintentionally, caused someone to have a worse day, so I make sure that I'm courteous and friendly to everyone. And yes, on Reddit too. Even you knuckleheads who get sassy and mod mail, lol. Because I know how it feels when you're down and your day, week, month, year just fucking sucks. And if there's a chance I can make just one person who feels like that have a better day and feel good for a bit, then it's worth it. Edit. So I've never actually seen a full episode of Friends and had no idea I was close to the theme song. Took me a bit to figure out why so many people were saying I'll be there for you, lol, but thanks for making me aware of that. Yes. As a pushing 40 gallons, I remember how rarely I got compliments after age 11, so I try and compliment one stranger, usually female, every day. I work with 90% men, so I compliment them frequently as I know men don't hear it enough too, but complimenting strange men in public can backfire. Last week I was at the mall and while passing by the food court I saw a 15-ish-year-old girl with the most vibrantly orange hair. It was adorable and she looked like an anime character. So I made it a special point to compliment her on her hair and how gorgeous it looked. Girl lit up like the 4th of July. Said to her friend as I was leaving, I can't believe she liked my hair. It wasn't until I got home and was changing into my dinosaur comfy clothes that I realized that I'm probably her mom's age. I was like in a professional business suit, heels, pantyhose, and looked like a real got it together grown up and not someone who appreciates a 15-year-old neon orange boxed manic panic hair. Something I read came back to me, be the someone you needed when you were younger. Edit typo. When I was in high school, I was super into the goth look and wore those bondage pants covered in straps and chains. My family laughed at me a lot. But whenever I went to visit friends in Montana, the little old ladies at Walmart would surprise me with unexpected compliments. I love your pants. Where did you get those? I'd like to get some for my grandson. So glad my husband's mother is that sort of lady too. She's got bright purple blue hair and she's developing a habit of buying me cool clothes that she likes but feels like she can't wear, like loose tie-dye cloth overalls. This is exactly why I have a tray set out on the front porch with bottles of water, Gatorade, and various snacks like bags of peanuts, beef sticks, and a variety of candy for our delivery drivers. I know their job can be stressful and they don't always work under the best conditions, so I do what I can to make their day a little better. We receive a lot of deliveries, and every time I see one of them smiling after reading the note I left out there with the snacks, it makes my own day better as well. I have the cutest video clip from my front door cam of a FedEx driver running toward the front porch with the excitement of a child after he spotted a box of Sour Patch Kids. As he was running, he cried out, "Oh, Sour Patch Kids." He put the package down on the table and said, "Oh my God. This is awesome. I love this. Thank you," before hopping off the porch while practically clicking his heels and running back to his truck with a spring in his step. That reaction made me feel happy for days. Edit. Paid the wholesome tax and uploaded the clip to YouTube. Right? Kindness is the easiest route. You won't get caught up in drama, you avoid fights, people are more apt to help you etc. Edit, I'm a naturally meek person. I've been bullied pretty badly in the past. My coping mechanism was always to smile through it and be kind to whoever was mean to me. It throws them off and makes it harder for them to continue being mean. I know it's really difficult to show kindness to people who treat you awful, but it's often the best way to get people to start treating you with respect. Fighting back and being a dick will only make a situation worse, even if you do have to sacrifice some pride. I'm not especially strong or educated. I'm not particularly well off and I know I can get carried away and come off as annoying sometimes. So if I can't be strong or smart, socially adept or successful, I can definitely be kind. Not everyone can be the next Albert Einstein or Carl Sagan, but we can all try to be like Mr. Rogers or Bob Ross. Maybe not as well known, but we have the potential to touch the lives around us for the better. I think a lot of it boils down to how you are raised. My dad came from an extremely loving family and my mom didn't. My dad will do anything for anyone and doesn't expect something in return and is always pleasantly surprised when they reciprocate because that's how he was raised. My mom made the conscious decision that she would never be like her family and is right there with my dad. They are both so supportive of me and my brother, and by extension all of our friends because they see anyone who is part of their life a family. Lost count of the amount of times growing up we had friends stay with us because they had fallen out with their own parents. I try to do the same, and raise my girls the same. I'm like your mom. I remember the exact moment at 15 that I decided I wasn't going to be like my parents. They had a room repainted and said it looked patchy when the first coat hadn't even dried. Instead of waiting until the job was done or listening, they went full asshole on this poor guy, including threatening his pay. They were recently wealthy, they didn't need to do any of that to him. So I decided fuck them. Fuck their money and the inheritance they like to dangle over my head. Not if it meant making someone's eyes lose their spark like they did to the painter. 2 years later they kicked me out for some complicated reason. I was homeless for a year then built myself from the ground up without them. I've never regretted it. It might be because of the stories we're told as a kid, where every kindness is paid back, which leads people to have unrealistic expectations. In reality, there is no way to prove this belief, and the only sure reward is knowing you aren't adding to the cruelty in their lives, and are making it easier for someone to get through this shithole of a world. Might seem stupid and not even the beginning, but knowing that you made someone else happy is probably the best kind of happiness. That, and paying it forward is a very real thing. It may not happen 100% of the time, but a lot of people get inspired by a random act of kindness and feel the need to return the favor to someone else. I personally set the goal to perform one random act of kindness every month, whether it's mowing an elderly neighbor's grass for free, buying an extra burger or two and handing them out to the homeless, or pausing my commute to pull over and help someone that's having car trouble, or anything in between. I'm often offered payment, but I simply refuse the money and ask that, if they find someone struggling and they're in a position to help, to do what they can for them. Honestly, I'd say this is my biggest motivator. At the end of the day, every life is precious and everyone deserves to experience that life with happiness and contentment. We must also remember that this life is short and fragile, and the day it ends will be the day you cease to write your own story, and instead leave your memory in the hands of your fellow man. We must remember how we want that story to be told, and live each day like it may end at any moment. I, personally, would like my story to inspire others to be kind and gentle human beings. Agree. When people reciprocate it's really lovely, but not expecting anything in return has made me a much happier person. My life is not a bank account that I balance kindness for kindness, rather my life can be measured in the total kindness and joy and love I share with others. Trying to balance things emo is where resentment grows. That being said, I feel no obligation to be kind to people who are mean, unpleasant, violent, etc. I'm not a moron, I'm nice. There's a difference. I try to embody this mindset so much. Being a dwarf, I get a lot of shit from people, shouting on the street, pointing, people filming me and taking photos of me, asking me invasive questions, generally making rude statements about me or expressing weird assumptions. It gets tiring and sometimes downright upsetting, for sure, but I never want to let that feed into how I interact with people in general. As soon as I am a dick to someone preemptively, without cause, I have just ruined an opportunity to have a positive new connection in my life. People can and will often surprise you, and even people who may seem ignorant or rude at first can change dramatically if I don't just shut them down from the offset. There is a line, of course. If someone is a complete unapologetic ass, fuck them. I'm not against standing up for myself, and I have had to cut ties with people before, but in milder situations, people have the capacity to change, and it's kind of wasted potential to not encourage that, whether it is through empathy or kindness. I used to let all of this get to me. I would be so angry and miserable, every day. I hated everyone. But eventually, I realized that empathizing with people is a win for both parties, understanding where a person is coming from, not excusing it, but understanding it, made me less angry, and in turn allowed for them to not get defensive or aggressive like they would if they were just pegged as a monster. Eventually, empathy just became easier. It made me happier, and it took less of a toll on my mindset. Overall, definitely better. I got sick of the Turian references 8 years ago, but that's really the only negative, and the references are still so much better than the Oompa Loompa and Mini-Me references. I think the best part is how much it normalized us being sexual beings in a non-perverted, fetishized way. We're just people. I just think you shouldn't make anyone else's life harder than it already is. Edit. I've been on Reddit 9 years and I've never had this much of a reaction to one of my comments. Thanks, you all. To clarify, I am not a saint, there are exceptions, and my kindness does have limits. However, I usually try very hard to be nice to people because life sucks sometimes. He says that whatever you are doing should have your full attention. If you are helping your kid with their homework, then be present and focus on that. Don't hold in mind a desire to watch TV or a problem from work you are addressing. Just focus on helping with homework. If you are washing the dishes, try not to allow your mind to wander to something from the past or something about the future that causes worry. You don't live in the future or the past, you live now. So when you are washing the dishes, just wash the dishes only. And it is okay to worry about the future from time to time as long as it is not controlling us, but do so when you have intentionally given yourself time in which to think about things you may encounter in the future. I can't say it nearly as beautifully as he does, and I'm sure I'm missing some valuable points. Definitely check out the book sometime. I was recommended it years ago when I was going through a nasty divorce and was an anxious wreck. The teachings made a world of difference for me. Sometimes people ask you, when is your birthday? But you might ask yourself a more interesting question. Before that day, which is called my birthday, where was I? Ask a cloud, what is your dates of birth? Before you were born, where were you? If you ask the cloud, how old are you? Can you give me your date of birth? You can listen deeply and you may hear a reply. You can imagine the cloud being born. Before being born, it was the water on the ocean's surface. Or it was in the river and then it became vapor. It was also the sun because the sun makes the vapor. The wind is there too, helping the water to become a cloud. The cloud does not come from nothing, there has been only a change in form. It is not a birth of something out of nothing. Sooner or later, the cloud will change into rain or snow or ice. If you look deeply into the rain, you can see the cloud. The cloud is not lost, it is transformed into rain, and the rain is transformed into grass, and the grass into cows, and then to milk, and then into the ice cream you eat. Today, if you eat an ice cream, give yourself time to look at the ice cream and say, hello, cloud. I recognize you. Yes. Life is hard. People go through shit. Also, having less empathy is often genetic, neurological, mental health, and gut bacteria related. There should be consequences for hurtful behavior and actions, but people themselves are a fucking mess of complications. I don't need people to be kind to me, because I have a lot of beauty in my life. I want everyone else to enjoy the beauty in their lives, too, even with the struggles. I want them to thrive alongside the pain. I want them to be as happy and well as possible. I don't want anyone to be stuck in suffering because life is short, and the reasons you may be a dick are complex. Your life is happening right now. It's passing by. What beauty is passing by that you just don't see? Can I make your path a bit more beautiful with a little kindness? It just never hurts to be nice. You don't know what people go through or how long it's been since someone said something or did nice for someone, so I do my part to reset the clock on that. I remember holding the door for a guy one time when he was like 20 feet behind me, and he was so appreciative that someone did something for him that sounded like he was about to tear up. You just never know, so why not be a good person? Yes. I actually just quit my job yesterday because I realized that my managers were being intentionally rude and hurtful towards me and the higher-ups didn't care. One of the days I was just having a hard day, and when my manager came down on me intentionally harder than was necessary, I had a major panic attack. Later that afternoon he admitted he wrote and reread the mean message but decided to hit send anyway because he knew I wouldn't like it. I just realized in that moment I couldn't be in a place that condoned that kind of behavior from employees. Said managers then begged me to stay after I put in my notice. Of course. Later that evening I went to the grocery store and saw the same meat counter lady who is always there. She's always so polite and friendly, so because I was having a bad day I asked her, "How are you always just so gracious and friendly? I have never seen you otherwise, and I love that I can always expect to see you here with a smile on." She instantly started to tear up and told me what I said meant so much because she was having an absolutely horrible day. I just thought again how much words can matter and felt even more justified leaving my job. You never know what a person is going through, and your attitude and words can make or break someone's day, so why not just be kind? My go-to response to people who are rude to me is, "You seem like you're having a bad day. I hope being rude to me made you feel better about yourself." Usually shuts people down pretty quickly. Let me tell you a story. Some years ago I was working as a barista at a small coffee shop that only had one person there at a time. If the boredom didn't get to you, the isolation would a little. I was working a morning shift that day and I had gotten little sleep the night before, so it put me in a rather bad mood. Coffee can only substitute sleep so well. Now I had been serving customers their drinks that morning and I've always disliked the people that asked for really complicated, elaborate things. A lady comes up asking for one such thing. And it was a situation where she wanted more of something that would result in less drink in her cup. According to my bosses, we were not supposed to humor those people and legit fill the cup near halfway as a result of the customer's request. This is actually kind of absurd, because anyone who works behind the counter knows there is enough product left over in the mixing cup to fill the guest's cup, but we are supposed to dump it. So I did as I was supposed to. Being in the mood I was in, knowing it's what my bosses would have wanted, I thought, nah, fuck this lady, and just filled her cup up halfway. So I did as I was supposed to. Being in the mood I was in, knowing it's what my bosses would have wanted, I thought, nah, fuck this lady, and just filled her cup up halfway. When she received it and asked why it was half full, I told her that's what we're supposed to do. She responded pleasantly and thanked me for the drink, and handed over an origami elephant that she had been making while waiting for her drink. I think I had not felt so bad as I did in that moment in a long time. She was so nice to me when I had actually been rather mean-spirited towards her. I kept the origami elephant on my counter for the rest of the 2 years I worked there as a reminder to give my best to people. Even if it's not much, just remember to give that little bit extra. I have heard the saying before, you can choose to either be the light or the mirror that reflects it. And I think that was one of those moments for me. I still have the elephant to this day, in a box of special little gifts I have received in my life. One day an old man saw a boy upon a beach. The boy was picking up sand dollars that had washed ashore and were dying in the hot sun. Handful by handful the boy took as many sand dollars as he could to return them to the safety of the ocean, but the beach was covered in hundreds of exposed sand dollars. Seeing this foolishness, the man called out to the boy, "Why do you do such a thing? There are hundreds of sand dollars on this beach. You can only help so many. Why are you wasting your time on something that doesn't matter to you?" To which the boy responded, "Perhaps you are right. Perhaps this act does not matter to me, but it matters to them. Kindness is a choice. You don't do it for praise or prize. You just do it because it's the right thing to do sometimes." I can't say I'm kind every day, because I'm often not, but I have noticed that my own life is better if I'm kind to wankers, especially living in a small community like I do. Being kind takes the sting out of rudeness, usually on both sides. Being nice to an arse makes me feel good, and often makes them back down and apologize, or at least stop doing what they're doing. Sometimes just asking if they're okay can make them stop, although sometimes it leads to a life story. I have always regretted being mean. I've never regretted being kind. This is what I've noticed throughout my life too, at least on a superficial interactions level, work, being served, retail etc. I have to deal with people all the time, and I also can't turn off the nice. I always hear so many stories about awful customer service experiences people have, altercations, etc. And when I reflect back, that just doesn't really happen to me. Once in a while things are beyond your control, and I've certainly had bad interactions, but 9 times out of 10 if you bring kindness and understanding to a situation you get something similar back. Even if you don't, at least you know you didn't make someone's bad day worse or yourself angry by engaging in petty retribution. It hurts me to be unkind to others. I feel bad. It sucks up my attention. I ruminate over it. I worry about retaliation. I damage relationships. I lose an opportunity to transform a negative relationship into a positive relationship. I leave behind a person that will continue to do damage that will inevitably come back around to something I will have to deal with later. It's like asking myself, why don't I just throw my garbage on the floor? Why would I want to hurt myself? Why wouldn't I want to be proud that I improved the world around me? I don't see the benefit in creating more problems, but I do see the benefit in fixing problems. However, I think your question is how not to get stepped upon. Being kind is not being a doormat. Set boundaries. Be vocal about what you will tolerate. Then seek understanding what is going wrong. Actively listen. And try to address their actual problem with compassion. I have mild cerebral palsy and grew up wearing a leg brace. When I was young, adults always seemed to take a double take at me and had to ask what was wrong with me. Looking back on it, I don't think they meant any harm by it, but it crushed my self-esteem. I wasn't raised believing there was anything wrong with me. My family always treated me like everyone else, no special treatment for me. I loved it, and I always appreciated the people who just completely ignored my obvious physical problems. Or the people that pushed me believing I could do more when I was told I would do less because of my diagnosis. That kindness changed my life. That small act of people deciding to get to know me instead of assuming CP was my only defining character trait is something I will remember forever, and it will always outweigh the crappy comments. And now I just get to pay it forward, and it's a good feeling. What is it that Samwise Gamgee says from Lauder? There's some good in this world and it's worth fighting for. I know that there have been times in my life where I was in the shit, real low and depressed, and having a person smile at me or say they liked my shirt or something simple like that could make my day worth it. It's because I can't that feeling that I try and compliment strangers if I notice even something simple that catches my eye, and try to be nice to everyone. You never know someone's background, what they're going through, or even if they've just had a shitty day and they're grumpy about it. A few words can go a long way.